I walked out of this movie so confused because the early reviews are disrespectfully inaccurate. I just got done watching the new Michael Jackson movie, Michael, and I'm convinced some of y'all just want to be different or hate everything because this movie fucking phenomenal. And to think that I almost listened to the online critique and skipped going to the movie theater because now that I've seen it, I don't understand the negative reviews. The acting across the board was strong, from Coleman Domingo playing his father, Nia Long playing his mother, Giuliano Baldi as young Michael, but Jafar Jackson exceeded my expectations. There were moments in the movies where I actually got chills from how freakishly close Jafar's look was to Michael. I've seen people complain that the performances were too long, so y'all are gonna really sit here and tell me you didn't like the human nature performance? It literally felt like you were watching Michael himself. I've seen people say that the movie was missing a lot, but I was actually surprised at some of the things that they did include. I thought abuse by Joe was going to be taken out, but they didn't completely avoid it, which was so important because it showed you how much it actually had an impact on Michael. At the end of the day, it's not a documentary. There's not going to be every little thing included. With that being said, I would 100% watch this again. Boo to Rotten Tomatoes. Definitely worth a watch.
I just came back home from watching the Michael Jackson movie. It was so good. It was so good. It was so good. And yes, I know I look crazy. I just got my lips done and they're really swollen right now, so don't look at that. But it was beautiful. I don't know who these movie critics are. I audibly gasped when Jafar Jackson got on screen and he started talking. Gasped. He looks so much like him. He sounds exactly like him. He made me feel like I was watching Michael Jackson. And I loved Michael Jackson. I don't know, it was super nostalgic. All of the songs. My mom and I are huge Michael Jackson fans. And it was a beautiful movie. It was beautiful. Give that man an Oscar nomination. He was so good. That is what a movie should do. The movie should make you feel like you're a part of it, like you feel like that character is that person. And holy shit, did that do it. This was his first acting. You couldn't have told me that. It was so good. I'm going to watch it tomorrow. I'm going to watch it again tomorrow.
I have never loved a movie as much in my life like I loved Michael. That is the closest thing I will ever get to seeing my hero. My childhood was filled with me being 3 years old, watching the Thriller music video over and over and over and over and over. He was a reason I danced. He's a reason I loved performing and entertaining. And you have to go and see it. You have to go and see it. Nothing in this world is greater than Michael Jackson and the power that he had. I'm a fool who just cries on TikTok. I loved it. I'm seeing it again. I loved it.
I don't know if I'm being dramatic or if I'm being messy, but that movie was so fucking cold. Oh my God. I'm about to run into people. I'm a crybaby sometimes, but look, no, that shit was crazy. They did Mike so wrong.
Phenomenal. And to think that I almost listened to the online critique and skipped going to the movie theater because now that I've seen it, I don't understand the negative reviews. The acting across the board was strong, from Coleman Domingo playing his father, Nia Long playing his mother, Giuliano Baldi as young Michael, but Jafar Jackson exceeded my expectations. There were moments in the movies where I actually got chills from how freakishly close Jafar's look was to Michael. I've seen people complain that the performances were too long, so y'all are gonna really sit here and tell me you didn't like the human nature performance? It literally felt like you were watching Michael himself. I've seen people say that the movie was missing a lot, but I was actually surprised at some of the things that they did include. I thought abuse by Joe was going to be taken out, but they didn't completely avoid it, which was so important because it showed you how much it actually had an impact on Michael. At the end of the day, it's not a documentary. There's not going to be every little thing included. With that being said, I would 100% watch this again. Boo to Rotten Tomatoes. Definitely worth a watch.
I saw the Michael Jackson movie and I just can't stop crying because he is just beyond special. And it like literally hurts my heart. Because, like, if you were to get your childhood taken away, no birthdays, no Christmas, it's sad. And at the age of 5, being so famous and not being able to have friends, and your animals are your friends, which was just so beautiful. His story is so special, and Michael Jackson was so special. And his voice is an instrument. I don't give a fuck. If you think different otherwise, go to hell. Too far? Maybe not. But I just can't. Every video that I see of him talking about his story just literally melts my heart. And I listened to They Don't Really Care About Us and Human Nature, and I immediately started crying today after seeing it yesterday. And if anybody wants to go see it or is planning to go see it, you need to see it today.
Hey guys, I wanted to come on here and make a video. I just got done seeing the movie Michael, and I really hope that this is the year that he really gets his flowers as a psychic intuitive. Seeing so much pain in a person when all they ever wanted to do was just love and protect all the children and the people in the world. And for him to go through what he went through, all because he was trying to expose the industry. I just have to say that this movie was absolutely incredible, and his nephew, I swear, was possessed by his soul. And it was so nice that his story was told the way that he wanted it to be told. And this movie is beautiful and wonderful, and it just makes me so emotional because that man did not deserve any of the pain or ridicule or discrimination. He was a pure light soul. And I pray with everything in me that he is at peace. And I hope that he somehow saw this film and smiled with glee that people could finally love him and see him for what he was. Thank you for sitting here with me. It just was such an emotional feeling, and I hope that those who truly understand the wonderful human being that he was can speak up about it, because he deserves that. And even though he is gone now, he still lives on with everyone. Thank you.
This is us before Michael. But after watching Michael.
I've
now watched the Michael Jackson biopic, not once, but twice, so let's get into my review. Alright, let's jump into it. I'm gonna start off strong by saying I think that Michael is my favorite biopic that I've ever watched. This film was such an excellent Michael Jackson origin story, and it takes you through the first 30 years of his life, including his start with the Jackson 5, without making this a Jackson 5 movie. At no point during this film do you forget that it's solely about Michael Jackson. This movie does such a good job at showing us all the important relationships that Michael has in the first 30 years of his career and how they affect him and his career, whether it be Quincy Jones or his mother or even his father. This movie really highlights the growth and the journey of Michael Jackson, and it really focuses on the human behind such an influential figure. You're seeing the human behind the King of Pop. I think this film gave us everything we could possibly want and need from a Michael Jackson biopic, and a lot of people speaking negatively about this film need to remember that it's a biopic and not a documentary. Almost every single acting performance in this film had me thoroughly impressed. Everything felt like a standout. But Giuliano and Jafar were so beyond amazing. You know, only a Jackson could play a Jackson, because Jafar really nailed Michael's voice, his mannerisms, the way he dances, and you know what? Before watching this movie, I didn't think they resembled each other at all. But let me tell you right now, he looks just like Michael in that movie, more than I ever thought possible. There were so many points during this movie where I was so taken aback by the resemblance between Jafar and Michael. Jafar quite literally deserves every single bit of praise for his role as Michael, because the way he transformed himself into his uncle, the level of dedication that he had in this role, it paid off. I actually can't even express just how good of a job he did. You have to see it yourself. Now, let's get into the music elements of this film, which a lot of people are complaining about. People are saying the movie feels too concerty, which I completely disagree with. People are not realizing how much storytelling is done through the concerts and done through the choices of music and choices of songs that they decided to include in this movie. Every single song selection in this movie, and point of which it's included in the movie, is done purposely. There is so much storytelling done in this film beyond just the dialogue between characters that's so immersive. The level of amazing that the music and concert elements are in this film directly contribute to how great of a film this is and how great of a Michael Jackson biopic this was, because if any of the music elements, if any of the performances were lacking in any way, the movie would suck. And something I really appreciate about this film is the overall structure of it and how the structure benefited the pacing. Especially for a movie that has a 2 hour and 7 minute runtime, at no point did I feel like things were dragging or taking too long or things were redundant. I feel like we got enough of everything without feeling like we were skipping over anything. And I feel like I need to remind people that this is a 2 hour movie on the first 30 years of his life. There are obviously gonna be things that cannot be included in this film, especially legally. But anyways, back to the structure. The way this movie drives the narrative through a balance of singing performances and dialogue scenes and also montages was so well done. And one of my favorite parts of this movie is actually all the montage sequences that we get. I think each of the montage scenes were so essential to showing the viewers who Michael was as a person beyond just him singing and performing, without him even having to speak or interact with another character. The transitions and transformations from year to year to year were so well spaced out. When I say I have no notes for this movie, I absolutely mean it, but if I were to have one note, it would be that I didn't like the fact that we were just supposed to pretend like Janet Jackson didn't exist because she didn't want to be a part of it. Because not having Janet, who's Michael's closest sibling, in his movie, I noticed. Other than that, I loved it. I feel like I would give this movie like an 8.8 out of 10, maybe a 9 out of 10, because I don't have many complaints. I don't like biopics, but I absolutely loved this. I think that anyone who likes Michael Jackson even a little bit will also love this movie. And all the negativity surrounding this film right now is just a bunch of social media buzz. I really don't care what no one got to say about this movie, critic or not. You could say it's messy, you could say there's too many concerts, you could say it was reshot and things are missing. I don't care. I think the movie is phenomenal. I think it's so captivating. I think it's so immersive. It's my favorite biopic that I've ever seen. But yeah, anyways, let me know in the comments if you've watched Michael and what you think. That's it for today. Bye, guys.
I just finished watching Michael the movie, and oh my god, guys, nothing could have made that movie better. I cried multiple times, and that movie exceeded my expectations. As someone who's been a fan of Michael Jackson for nearly my entire life, that was just perfect. That was perfect, guys. You need to go watch it when it comes out, and I will get my full in-depth review next week when I can, because there's an embargo right now. But guys, just think of the most perfect Michael Jackson movie ever. It's that.
So the wife and I saw Michael, the movie, today. And I'm going to be honest, I thought I would like it as a nostalgia trip. And the music, obviously, Michael Jackson fan, like everyone from my era. And I thought it would be it'd be fine. Like the Bob Dylan movie was fine. Bohemian Rhapsody was fine. The Elton John movie was fine. I'm not a huge fan of music biopics because it's always the same thing. It starts with the performer in his heyday. maybe singing a song. He looks out at the audience. He sees someone who reminds him of his mom or his dad or his brother who died. And you flash back in time and blah, blah, blah. And some relative says, you know, honey, you're going to be a star one day. I don't know, Mom. You're like, that's kind of, they're always the same. I love this movie. I loved it. I know it was a very kind of artificial view of Michael Jackson. I know there was none of the scandal, very little of the weirdness. I loved it, like sing out loud, loved it. First of all, Jermaine's kid who played Michael was brilliant. And the little kid who played the young Michael was brilliant. The music was alive. Like, it's just so freaking good. The Jackson 5 days were awesome. Some of the performances I didn't even know were coming. Nia Long as his mom, great. Michael Myers as a record executive, really, really fun. Lorenz Tate as Barry Gordy, great. But the main thing was fucking Jermaine's kid was so good as Michael Jackson. Like, good where you're like, is this kid going to win an Academy Award in his first movie? Like, that good. And just the colors and the sound and the nostalgia. And you also realize it's kind of like the Chris Rock line where he says, you know why people listen to Michael Jackson but not R. Kelly? Because Michael Jackson had great music. It's true. He just did. The music is so good. It holds up so well. And I loved it. I loved every minute of this movie. I really did. I usually hate this kind of movie. I loved it. I loved it as much as I like Walk the Line, which is the other great music biopic. And man, just great. And great casting decisions across the board. Really, really, really smart movie. Again, like, it doesn't go into Michael Jackson's weirdness. It doesn't go into the controversy. That is actually feels okay. The only weird thing I would say is no Janet. And I know Janet is estranged from the estate, and the estate was involved in the movie. I would have just had a little girl standing around. You don't even have to say it's Janet. But, oh well. Otherwise, it was great.
So I think that the film Michael is a rewatchable biopic. And the soundtrack is incredible because, duh, it's Michael Jackson. But as many anticipated, this is a celebration of Michael Jackson as an artist. And even though he was a controversial public figure, I did like how they focused this film primarily on the relationship between Michael and his father, played by Coleman Domingo, who did an incredible job in this performance. And Jafar Jackson, Michael Jackson's real-life nephew, playing Michael, truly embodied the character and really represented who Michael was, and not kind of in this cringy impersonation type way. And so I thought it was a good story of what they could do with kind of the challenge that they had of, like, essentially going through the timeline of cultivating as an artist through the 60s up into the late 80s. But as a result, there is the con of, you know, you do feel like time is just being breezed through. It's like rushing through all these things. And I think because you're having to squeeze all of this into like a 2-hour movie, that challenge was always going to exist. But I will say that Michael Jackson is so nuanced and so many events happened in his life. You could have a whole series dedicated to be like a biopic series about his life. With that, I did feel like, and I think you can make this argument, that Michael Jackson's character, I felt, was being kept at an arm's length. And I think they probably had to in some way, because I felt like even though we do explore his flaws as a character in some capacity, it only goes so far. And there's certain elements of his life that people know about, that are explained a bit, that have some nuance to it. But even still, I felt like there's a certain level of depth that they could have gone, but they only perhaps went halfway there. And it's probably also because they were trying to protect the image of Michael, because this is a Michael Jackson celebration, right? But even still, compared to other biopics that I feel kind of explore the deep flaws of the protagonist, Michael didn't fully deliver that, but I don't really think that's a huge con necessarily for the story that they were trying to tell. But it was something that I felt like was lacking a bit in terms of the storytelling department a bit with that. But I did feel like the primary dynamic and tension between Michael Jackson and his father is what really drove this story. And I think it was a good depiction of that first like 20 years or whatever of his life. And from my understanding, if this film does well, we might be getting a sequel. So if we do get that sequel, perhaps that is where like we would get more of that depth with the character. So we'll see. But my mom and I enjoyed this.
Well, I just got home from the theater watching Michael and totally crying, trying to explain to my kids how influential and inspirational he was to our generation, and just how his music like changed my life. Like, am I alone here? I remember going through the most traumatic moments in my childhood and listening to his songs and albums, and that was my safe space. Like, that was my his music was my sanctuary, you know. And I'm just, man, I wish our generation had, or our kids' generation, current generation, had something like Michael, you know. I just feel really grateful for being able to grow up in the 90s and being able to have idols like Michael Jackson